Rise of the Lycan Princess, Chapter 18. Blue Moon's dawn smelled of pine smoke and thawing snow, but beneath the hint of warmth Narah detected another scent: uncertainty. The courtyard where pack life slowly returned to rhythm still held traces of ash from the ceremonial fires that had burned through the night. Wolves moved along the flagstones, repairing banners and clearing broken torches, yet many glanced toward her with a mixture of gratitude and caution before dropping their gazes. Respect, yes, but trust remained fragile. Cole matched her stride as they crossed the semicircle of cracked stone leading into the oldest part of the stronghold. Sunlight slanted over battlements, catching flecks of quartz embedded in the weather-worn walls. Freya's low hum accompanied Narah's breath, steady yet alert. "They're talking," Cole said, adjusting the collar of his new commander's cloak. "Some praise your mercy. Others fear the mirror might still cling to you." Narah traced frost-rimmed etchings on a fallen column, carvings from ceremonies held long before Caspian's reign. "Fear lingers until truth has time to root," she replied. "We must keep moving forward." Freya's voice floated through her mind. "Roots need water, warmth, and patience. Give them all." Steps sounded behind. Narah turned as Ronan descended the stone stairway from the upper keep. His silver eyes crinkled in greeting, but she noted the tension in his shoulders. He closed the distance and brushed his fingers over Narah's bandaged arm with gentle precision. "How fares the cut?" he asked. "Clean." She managed a small smile. Maris fussed until she was satisfied. He lowered his voice. "You carried more than a blade last night. Remember to share the weight before it grows heavy again." She touched his forearm, grateful. "Shared burdens travel lighter." She agreed. Cole cleared his throat softly. "I hate to interrupt sentiment, but something's brewing beneath our feet." He gestured toward a narrow archway leading beyond the old well. "The scouts you asked me to send found fresh runes carved in the ceremonial caves." Narah's attention sharpened. "Runes?" "A pattern none of us recognized. Something between moon glyphs and darker marks." Cole's jaw flexed. "Celine saw the sketches. She wants your eyes on them." Ronan straightened. "Then we waste no time." Minutes later, Narah entered the restored court's main hall, the ancient oak doors standing open to winter air. Lucien conversed with Elias near a table strewn with scrolls. Celine waited by the hearth, the glow illuminating the faint rune tracings along her staff. Talia and Kael lingered in the shadows, checking bowstrings and sharpening an axe, respectively. Celine offered a clipped nod. She unfurled a parchment sketch before Narah. Symbols scraped into limestone less than 2 nights past, mixed with recent spoor of mirror-tainted spirits. The inked lines indeed merged familiar moon crescents with jagged spirals Narah had only seen radiating from mirror shards. Lucien tapped the parchment. "If these are fresh, they weren't there during Caspian's time. Means the cult doubled back." "Or never left," Elias growled, pushing a lock of dark hair from his eyes. Ronan scanned the hall, voice quiet but firm. "We go underground, but carefully. The mirror twists space and mind." Celine gestured to Narah's bandage. "Your energy will draw any latent shard. I'll weave a buffer spell. Yet you must guard your thoughts." Narah inclined her head. "I will not let shadows dictate me." Still she felt a coil of nerves flicker, quickly suppressed. Freya murmured, calm. The investigative party gathered gear. Lanterns, coils of silver-threaded rope, small vials of moon-kissed salt. Talia insisted on carrying 4 spare arrows tipped with cold iron. Kyle strapped twin axes across his broad back. They entered the narrow archway beyond the well, descending a spiral of uneven steps. Cold breath exhaled from the depths, smelling of wet stone and something metallic. Ronan led with a lantern. Narah walked second, hand brushing Unity's promise, sheathed at her hip. Cole followed, eyes scanning every crack. Celine murmured beneath her breath. Soft blue runes blossomed and hovered an arm's length around the group, pulsing gently. The wall soon shifted from simple masonry to natural limestone carved centuries ago by pack artisans. Narah's lantern revealed faded murals. Wolves howling at a silver disc, elders pouring water over newborn pups. At intervals, new gouges marred the stone, signature spirals chiseled too precisely to be random. Elias crouched by one defaced panel. "See how the spiral overlaps the crescent?" he muttered, tracing a finger without touching. A message, mirror devouring moon. Lucien studied the shadowy corridor ahead. Or claiming partnership. Celine's staff flared. Either intent ends in corruption. They reached a broader cavern where stalactites dripped into shallow pools. Here the marks intensified. Some spirals glowed faintly red, throbbing like heartbeats. Cole drew a sharp breath. Those weren't pulsing earlier. Mirror resonance awakening. Freya's warning vibrated through Narah. She felt a tug behind her sternum, like a magnet aligning to hidden ore. At the chamber's center rose a low stone altar. The surface was cracked, and perched in a dark fissure lay a jagged shard the size of Narah's palm. It emitted a dull crimson light, rhythm matching her pulse. Around the shard, lines of congealed blood formed a sigil, Caspian's old crest intersected by spirals of the cult. Ronan's hand found Narah's elbow. "Stay back, let Celine examine first." But the shard's call pulled at Narah's consciousness. She swallowed, stepping closer, despite Ronan's caution. Celine slid in front, raising her staff. "I can seal without contact," she said. "No." Narah's voice came soft yet resolute. "This calls to me. If we do not learn its purpose, we will keep chasing fragments blindly." Celine hesitated, then nodded slowly. "I will anchor you. Be quick." Ronan's jaw tightened, but he trusted. Narah removed a glove and extended her hand toward the shard. Air around her cooled, parted, vibrating with uncanny familiarity. Unity's promise hummed in its sheath. As her fingertips brushed the shard, a flash like lightning split the cavern. Her body stiffened. Ronan lunged to steady her, but Celine held him back. Vision swallowed Narah. The cavern vanished, replaced by a boundless expanse of black glass under a blood-red sky. Shadow wolves prowled around her in endless circles, tails lashing. Flames licked the horizon. Violet tongues that etched silhouettes of a burning forest. A figure emerged from the fire. A young woman clad in a gown of living embers, hair a cascade of burning strands. Her eyes were mirrors reflecting Narah's face back with unsettling clarity. "Sister," the woman greeted, voice layered like two chimes, one high, one low. She walked barefoot across the glass, each step leaving ash footprints. Narah's pulse thundered. "Who are you?" "I am what you denied," the woman replied. "I am flame born of shadow, reflection of truth." She stopped a breath away, gaze shimmering. "You will know me when our shards reunite." Freya's voice rang, danger, disconnect, but Narah held her ground. Another figure materialized at the edge, a cloaked silhouette, the same from earlier visions. The hood parted enough to reveal a cold smile. "The moons converge soon, daughter of light," it whispered. "Choose the stronger twin or lose everything." The Ember Woman reached toward Narah. "Come, sister, let us finish the weaving." But Celine's spell yanked Narah backward. Reality crashed in like a wave. She staggered, Ronan catching her. Sweat cooled her brow. The shard now glowed brighter, feeding on the brief connection. Celine clamped crystal against its side. Blue runes enveloped the shard, dimming its light. "I can contain it temporarily," Celine said, breathless. "But the link grows stronger each time." Narah wiped her brow. "The woman called me sister." The cloaked figure spoke of moons converging. She steadied herself. "They're planting more shards to awaken something bigger." Cole exhaled shakily. "How many are there?" "Enough to echo through every pack," Lucian muttered. Talia nudged a fallen pebble with her boot. "Then we smash them all before they sing together." Celine wrapped the shard in a conjured sphere of ice. We must store this in Ironcrest's vault for proper nullification. Ronan pressed his forehead to Narah's. You went far. I am here, she whispered, though her heart raced. Freya stroked soothing energy along her mind. They retraced their steps. Torches seemed dimmer. The air hung heavier. From deep within the tunnels, Narah fancied she heard faint laughter. She tightened her grip on Ronan's hand. Back on the surface, evening painted the sky. The pack bustled around cook fires, yet hush followed Narah's group. Wolves eyed the ice sphere in Celine's arms, whispers carrying, mirror, curse, danger. Narah paused at an elevated stone dais once used for moon offerings. She lifted her chin, voice resounding. This shard represents only one piece of the threat. We confront it with courage, not fear. The mirror thrives on division. We answer with unity. She let her gaze sweep the crowd. Stand together, and no reflection can break us. Some wolves straightened. A few offered hesitant nods. It was not a thunderous cheer, but seeds seldom sprout in icy soil on the first dawn. Evening settled into deeper blue. Narah found Ronan leaning beside the old well, snow dusting his shoulders. She drew close, resting her head against his chest. His arms encircled her, heartbeat deep and steady. Starfire glinted in his hair. Thank you for believing, she murmured. Belief is easy when you prove it every breath, he answered. She smiled against his tunic, then sighed. Iona's scouts move fast. Tomorrow brings new storms. Then tonight we steal peace, he whispered, tilting her face up. Their lips met, soft warmth and biting air. Freya hummed approval, and for a moment no mirror shadow reached them. They lingered, watching northern lights shimmer faint along the horizon. But deep inside Narah's pocket, the sealed shard pulsed once, barely felt, like a tiny second heartbeat counting down. A pale half-moon climbed over the spruce crowns while Blue Moon's great hall glowed with hearthlight and the murmur of hesitant celebration. Long tables, once reserved for Caspian's elite, now brimmed with venison stew and braided loaves contributed by every household that could spare grain. Children wove between benches delivering clay mugs of pine needle tea. Laughter still felt strange in the rafters, like a timid guest unsure of welcome, but each chuckle came easier than the last. Narah entered with Ronan at her side and felt a hush ripple outward. Omegas straightened, warriors dipped heads. She offered a gentle nod to each cluster and felt tension loosen by degrees. At the end of the hall, Maris and the Queen organized platters. The Queen's silver hair spilled over a thick blue shawl. Maris wore flour on her cheek from kneading dough. They beckoned Narah closer. Maris pressed a warm roll into Narah's hands. Eat before you topple. Wolves feed on victory, but flesh needs bread. Narah bit into the crust and steam kissed her face. Hunger she'd ignored all day flared. She swallowed gratefully. You never miss a wound, visible or hidden. That is why healers have crow's feet, Maris teased. She glanced at Ronan. See that she sleeps at least a few hours. I plan to guard her pillow personally, Ronan answered, eyes alight. The Queen leaned in, voice low. Word from Ironcrest reached me through Hawk Courier. Your father strengthens border wards and readies supplies for Hollow Fang should they call. He said you will always have an army at your back. Warmth diffused through Narah. Tell him our backs remain unbroken. She squeezed her mother's hands, then allowed Ronan to guide her toward a quieter alcove near the hearth where Lucian lounged with Talia and Kael. Lucian kicked a stool out for her. Little sister finally sits, he said. Miracle. Talia poured a mug of tea and infused it with a drizzle of honey. We were laying wagers on when you would let exhaustion win. Kael grunted approval as Narah sipped. Strength and rest, he offered, a phrase he reserved for those he respected. Their camaraderie soothed her frayed nerves. Freya stretched inside, content. Conversation around them swelled. An elder told a cluster of pups how Narah's sword had shone like lightning in the cavern. 2 adolescent warriors boasted of helping haul building timber for new shelter. Hope, fragile hours ago, began to root. But above the chatter, Narah occasionally sensed glances. Curious, uncertain, some tinged with fear, fixed on the ice sphere containing the shard, now tucked in an iron cradle near Selene. The priestess stood watch, staff glowing faint. Every so often the sphere flickered, and nearby conversations hushed. Ronan noticed her gaze. They stare because they have seen what the mirror can do. They stare because I am tied to it, she replied softly. Bound, not controlled, he corrected. Chains can be made of silk or steel. Yours are woven of will. She touched his hand beneath the table. Help me keep weaving. When the meal ended, benches scraped and wolves drifted off to quarters or night guard. Ronan led Narah along a corridor lit by wall torches toward her reclaimed chamber. The hall echoed with distant laughter, but as they passed a frosted window, soft starlight pooled on the floorboards, quieting the world outside. Inside the room, embers glowed in the hearth. Someone had placed a pot of winter mint water on the mantel. Steam scented the air. The cracked mirror remained covered. Narah shrugged off her cloak and turned to Ronan, sudden fatigue in her limbs. You need rest, he said. So do you. Ronan lit a small lamp, setting it on a side table. Shadows ebbed. He removed his leather jerkin, draping it over a chair, then returned to her. For a moment they simply stood, foreheads touching. His palm skimmed her cheek, thumb brushing a fleck of soot. I watched you face shadows underground, he murmured. You came back to me each time. I come back because you wait, she answered. Because Freya reminds me of my center. He tipped her chin, meeting her eyes. Let me steady you now. They eased onto the bed. He sat against carved headboard, drawing her between his knees. She untied his hair, silver strands slipping through her fingers like snowfall. He reached for the ribbon securing her braid and gently pulled until waves tumbled free. His hands glided over her shoulders, massaging tense muscles. She closed her eyes, exhaling as weight slipped away. Better? He asked. Warmer, she whispered. He leaned down, kissing the bite mark that joined them. Warmth sparked along her ribs, radiating outward. Fingers threaded through his, she guided his hand to her heartbeat. He smiled, feeling steady thrum. They undressed slowly, layers sliding away like old fears. Bandage still wrapped her arm. He peeled it carefully, inspected the stitched wound, then kissed the unbroken skin beside it. She inhaled, eyes clouding. He drew the blanket over them, skin to skin, warmth building gradually. Their lips met, unhurried yet deep, tongues brushing with familiarity and wonder. She tasted roasted grain from supper, faint sweetness of honey. Freya's pleased hum merged with the low rumble from Ronan's wolf. Their spirits braided, creating a hush where only shared breath existed. He traced her flank with calloused fingertips, mapping the curve as though verifying her presence. She stroked a scar on his shoulder, a relic from battles before they met. He shivered, catching her wrist to place a kiss on her pulse. They moved together, a slow tide of need swelled by long days of worry. No quick urgency, no desperate claws. Their pace allowed space for words. Thank you. Stay. Always. Courage. Her hand slid through his hair as he cradled her, guiding hips until they fit, deep and perfect. She gasped softly when he entered. He stilled, forehead against hers, waiting. She rolled her hips in answer. Rhythm grew, measured, reverent. Each thrust built pleasure like a rising moon, brightening dark corners of exhaustion. When climax crested, it came quietly. Breathless moans swallowed by shared kiss, bodies trembling as one. Aftershocks pulsed gently, like waves smoothing sand after a storm. He rested his cheek on her shoulder while she traced patterns on his spine. Freya curled peacefully, and Ronan's wolf lay head across spectral paws. No mirror flicker intruded. Later, candle nearly spent, Narah whispered, "Do you ever doubt we can win?" "Victory shapes itself, but our unity is blade and shield," he answered. "With that, doubt flees." She smiled against his hair. "Tomorrow we forge new alliances." He murmured assent. Sleep settled over them. Dreamless. Morning arrived as pale gold spilling across quilts. Narah dressed quickly in travel leathers lined with fur. She cinched a leather jerkin, then strapped Unity's promise at her hip. Ronan set fresh coals in the hearth, then slipped on a wool tunic and belted his sword. In the courtyard, crisp air carried hammering from the new forge. Warriors mending breastplates. Lucian tossed a rolled map to Kale, who secured it under his arm. Talia tightened the harness on a shaggy dun horse, humming an old battle tune. Celine stood by the ice sphere now encased in rune-etched iron. Frost curled from vents near the shard, kept powerless inside shifting sigils. The War Council gathered in the old library, windows fogged. Iona entered wrapped in a sealskin cloak, half-moon eyes serious. She nodded greeting, then unfurled a travel-stained scroll. "My ravens make it certain. Mirror cult forces march east. Their standard is the spiral crossed with a broken crescent. Their destination, Fang territory. They mean to seize the moon rill before the lunar convergence." Lucian tapped the table. Fang sears align pack energy with the convergence. If corrupted. "Bond severance across half the realm," Celine finished, voice flat. Kale exhaled slowly. "Lunar convergence is less than 3 weeks." Ronan's brow knit. "We must move quicker. Secure Fang, bolster their defenses, purge shards en route." Narah studied a map pinned by worn daggers. The realm sprawled, carved into mountain ridges and frozen valleys. Her finger traced from Blue Moon to Fang, a 4-day ride if weather held. "We split forces," she decided. Cole and Elders stay to fortify Blue Moon. Ironcrest sends heavy units with supplies following behind. Our spearhead rides light and fast. Cole straightened. "I will guard the pack with my life." "Guard their hearts," Narah replied. "That is harder and more important." Talia arched a brow. "Who rides spearhead?" Narah named them. Ronan, Lucian, Elias, Celine, Talia, Kale, Iona, and a dozen Ironcrest Rangers adept at stealth. She included 2 Blue Moon scouts for terrain guidance. The king stepped from a corner, having listened in silence until now. "I will ride with the 2nd column," he announced. "Your mother will coordinate supply lines through Raven Hollow Pass." Narah's throat tightened at his steady gaze. She dipped her head. "Your presence steadies more than soldiers." He smiled faintly. "Then call upon it when needed most." Celine placed a vial of shimmering liquid in Ronan's palm. "Distilled moon tears. If the cult uses illusion fog again, smash this at your feet. It will reveal truth for 100 heartbeats." Ronan tucked it carefully into a pouch. "Let us hope 100 beats suffice." Iona spread another parchment, schematics of Fang's moonwells. Their central well resonates strongly. If the cult corrupts that, the convergence becomes a blade. Talia traced defensive choke points with an arrow tip. We set traps along ridges, archers on shale ledges, rune mines beneath snow. Lucian's fingers drummed a cadence. And rally Fang's outer sentries before doubt chains them. Narah closed her eyes, centering. Freya offered silent strength. She opened them, clear. "We ride by dusk. Spread word to rest horses until then." Preparations consumed the afternoon. Stables rang with hammer falls as new shoes were nailed. Celine inspected each ranger's blade, painting faint runes of clarity. Talia distributed quivers of steel-tipped arrows, dipped in mirrorbane resin, her own concoction smelling of mint and iron. In the late light, Narah walked the rebuilt courtyard. Children carried baskets of dried herbs to the healers. One boy stopped, eyes wide. "Are you leaving again?" She crouched. "Just for a while." to make sure everyone stays safe. He held out a small stone carved like a wolf paw. For luck. She accepted, heart swelling. Thank you, she said. Cole joined her near the gate. They'll look to new stars tonight. Don't let those go out. She rested a hand on his shoulder. Hold them bright until we return. Evening painted the sky lavender. Snow began anew, soft, silent. The spearhead column assembled, rangers in mottled cloaks, iron crest spears gleaming, blue moon scouts wearing crescent pins. The ice sphere housing the shard was loaded onto a padded wagon drawn by two stocky horses. Selene sat beside it, reins loose. Narah mounted Ember. Ronan swung onto Nightwind. She felt eyes of the pack upon her, fearful, hopeful, determined. She raised a hand. Guard one another. Fear divides. Unity conquers. Low cheers answered, subdued but real. Lucian signaled forward. The gates creaked open, and the company trotted into deepening dusk. Torches inside the walls glimmered like stars, fading behind them. Snow-muffled hooves, breath rose in white plumes. Narah adjusted her cloak, cold seeping through seams. Yet inside, burned steady warmth. Memories of Ronan's touch, Freya's calm, the child's carved stone. She pressed the paw token into her glove, carrying hope. Hours later, they camped beneath ancient pines. Rangers set low fires. Talia perched on a limb above, bow ready. Selene placed the wagon near the center, rune stakes forming a defensive square. Narah helped tie off canvas flaps, then walked perimeter with Elias. How heavy feels the mantle tonight, he asked. Heavy enough to remind me I wear it. She glanced skyward. But not enough to break me. Good, because weight will grow. They shared a brief grin. Snow ticked on pine needles. Ronan joined them, handing warm broth. Narah sipped, savoring heat. Lucian approached with Iona. Scouts saw distant lanterns on West Ridge, likely cult outriders. Distance? Ronan asked. 2 leagues, Lucian said. Heading east, same as us, but slower. Iona exhaled steam. They'll reach Hollow Fang in 5 days if not slowed. Narah handed back the cup. Then we shave half a day tonight. They broke camp at midnight, marching under star-glitter sky, frost-crusted cloaks and lashes. Yet spirits stayed awake, fueled by quiet resolve. Narah thought of Hollow Fang wells glowing in moonlight, and vowed to keep them pure. Near dawn, they reached Crestfall Plateau. Selene halted the column. The bridge ahead is out, she reported, reading scouting glyphs. An avalanche collapsed the main span. Lucian swore under breath. We detour through Breakwater Gorge. Add 6 hours. Narah frowned. We cannot lose that time. Cale scratched his beard. There's an ice shelf along North Face, narrow but passable if we lighten loads. Ronan considered. Leave the shard wagon here under guard. Rangers can cut a sled path for Selene and me to drag it across. Selene shook her head. Distance weakens containment. We move it regardless, Narah decided. If cult outriders find an unguarded shard, we gift them power. Cale volunteered to lead a work team. During the next hours, they hacked steps into the icy slope. Narah and Ronan led Ember and Nightwind across single file. Frost crystals glittered under dawn rose. One ranger slipped. Ronan caught her reins, averting disaster. By sunrise, they reached the plateau's far side. A distant horn pealed, deep, ominous. Talia scanned with spyglass, brow knotting. Cult outriders reached the broken bridge. They will track us. Narah looked east where pale light rimmed peaks. Hollow Fang lay beyond those mountains. Then we keep moving. As they resumed, Selene climbed onto the shard wagon, eyes closed, chanting. Faint argent strands streamed from her staff, weaving a fresh ward. The shard's red glow dimmed, but Narah still sensed it flutter, heart of a hungry flame waiting for fuel. Night returned long after the second day's march. The spearhead's fires burned low to avoid detection. Narah sat wrapped in cloak near a stump. Ronan approached, offering half a dried apple. She bit, sweetness reviving her. "We near Fang borders," he said. "And the convergence draws nearer still," she murmured. Freya whispered, "Storm behind, storm ahead." Narah lifted her gaze to the moon, a perfect white coin, inching toward fullness. She thought of the ember-haired woman who called her sister, of a prophecy unspoken yet looming. A shiver threaded through her bones. Not from cold. Ronan squeezed her knee. "Whatever truth hides, we meet it standing." She leaned against him, gathering strength from his warmth. "Together," she promised. Beyond their small firelight, pine shadows shifted. Wind carried faint voices that might have been distant wolves or memory's echo. In the dark, the mirror shard pulsed once, twice, dimming again. The company slept in turns. Narah's dreams were tangled. Shimmering lakes and broken mirrors, hollow moons raining embers. She woke before dawn, heart pounding. Freya soothed her with low hums. They broke camp silently, moving out in pre-dawn gloom. Snow began to fall in earnest, erasing tracks. Narah pulled up her hood, but flakes still melted against warm cheekbones, reminding her she lived. By midday, they crested a ridge overlooking Fang Valley. Stone monoliths ringed the settlement, each carved with moon phases. Smoke curled peaceably from chimneys. Yet an unease hung, as though the air shivered with unseen tension. Lucian raised a spyglass. "No banners of war, but patrols doubled. They've heard rumors." Elias signaled halt. "We send envoys first." Narah dismounted. She adjusted her cloak and approached the valley path, Ronan and Selene at her flanks. Freya's pulse synced with Narah's heart. She inhaled, tasting crisp mountain pine and something faintly metallic. Ahead, Fang sentries raised spears, wolf forms bristling. One called, "State names and purpose." Narah stepped forward. "Narah Blue Moon Ironcrest, daughter of the Lycan king, mate to King Ronan, bearer of unity. We come to warn you of mirror darkness and offer alliance." Spears wavered. One sentry sniffed the air, ears twitching. "We felt the mirror quake. Follow, but tread true." Narah nodded. "We tread in light." They entered Fang territory under watchful eyes, the rest of the spearhead trailing carefully. Snow fell thicker, swirling between stone monoliths. As Narah passed the central pillar, a tremor twitched beneath her feet. The shard in Selene's wagon flickered a dull crimson. Selene's eyes met Narah's. "It knows we are close." Freya growled. "Mirror calls mirror." Narah tightened fingers around Unity's promise. Alliance must form swiftly, or the valley would drown in reflected nightmares. Far behind, among distant pines, a hooded figure watched the procession, silver eyes glinting, flame hair flickering beneath the cloak. She turned, stepping through a shadow doorway that swallowed her shape. "Soon, sister," her whisper echoed on the wind. "Soon the mirror shows truth." Snow-laden cedars lined the steep switchback road into Fang's inner valley. As Narah's party followed the sentries through a towering gate of rune-carved granite, she felt more than saw the warding magic that skimmed her skin like static. Houses of dark timber rose along ridges in tiered rings, each roof shaped to funnel moonlight down to basin stones embedded at the corners. Even beneath overcast sky, the settlement pulsed with a quiet, ancient power. The escort halted before a crescent-shaped longhouse that jutted from a cliff face. Twin braziers flanked its arched doors, flames crackling blue from treated pine resin. Sentinels peeled off to guard the perimeter, while Narah, Ronan, Lucian, Elias, Selene, Talia, Kyle, Iona, and 2 rangers stepped forward. Cole had remained with the rear column, holding Blue Moon. Inside, heat rolled from a central hearth big enough to roast an elk whole. Stone pillars bore reliefs of wolves dancing beneath eclipsed moons. At the far end, an older Lycan couple awaited. Alpha Thorn, tall, silver-haired, his eyes wary but not hostile. And Luna Leora, whose braid of iron gray reached her belt. 8 advisors lined the dais behind them. Thorn's voice rumbled across the hall. "You carry Ironcrest steel and Blue Moon scent." His gaze lingered on the runed iron chest that 4 soldiers lowered gently onto a fur-covered table. Crimson, dull light seeped from seams. Ronan bowed. "We travel in warning. The mirror cult approaches from the west. Their shards corrupt packs, sever hearts, and poison moons." Narah stepped forward. "We have proof." She lifted the chest lid a finger's breadth. Red glow painted the underside of the rafters before Selene shut it again. A murmur rippled through the hollow Fang council. A few wolves recoiled, ears flat. Leora studied Narah, green eyes luminous. "Our seers dreamt crimson fractures in moonlight. They feared it was metaphor." "It is bone true," Selene said. She tapped her staff, casting a thin veil of runes along the chest. "This fragment was buried in Blue Moon's sacred cavern. It began growing on its own." Iona stepped forward, cloak brushing cedar planks. "Cult scouts cross your borders even now. Their goal is your moon rill, to harness the lunar wellspring at convergence." Thorn's shoulders tensed. "We sense trespass, footprints without scent, ward stones disturbed." He motioned to a youthful warrior. "Beta Garrick lost 3 trackers 3 nights past." Garrick's eyes darkened. "We found only claw marks carved in ice spiraling inward." Lucian spread a map, marking terrain features with a charcoal nub. "Our column of 70 heavily armed will reach you in 2 days. Until then, we propose joining your sentries, shoring weak passes, and mapping archer lines along Ridge 14. Kale pointed at the slope southwest of the well. "That wall is brittle shale. If we place counterweighted logs here, we can trigger an avalanche on approaching ranks." Talia adjusted an arrow in her quiver. "I will station longbow platoons at Smoke Rise Bluff. Mirror fog won't impede flight in open air." The council whispered. Leora lifted a hand. "Allies are rare in these mountains. We will accept your aid." She met Narah's gaze. "And trust your leadership. If you answer one question, is the mirror alive in you?" Narah felt every eye in the hall converge. She inhaled, letting Freya's calm flow outward. "The mirror seeks resonance in blood, but my heart chooses harmony, not reflection. I carry light and shadow balanced." Freya rumbled assent. Her golden power shimmered briefly in Narah's irises, unmistakable. Thorn pressed a closed fist to his chest in formal salute. Then Hollowfang bows to unity. Council doors opened, admitting runners bearing carved horns of fermented honey wine. Formal words gave way to strategy. Ronan and Garrick conferred over patrol rotations while Selene and Hollowfang shamans exchanged rune sigils. Kale marshaled soldiers to reinforce the timber palisade. Talia led a squad to the ridgeline, quiver bobbing. Lucienne dispatched rangers to sweep valley tunnels. Narah found herself shoulder to shoulder with Luna Leora, arranging sleeping pallets for displaced pups whose burrow homes had flooded last thaw. Leora's quiet voice held steel. "Fear makes us lash out. Thank you for bringing truth instead of comfort." Narah tucked a fur around a drowsy pup. "Truth is the first stone of trust." Evening descended swift, laying lavender shadows over snow. Work crews lit lanterns along parapets. The shard chest was locked inside Hollowfang's moon hall, walls clad in sigil-etched basalt, to await Ironcrest vault transport. Selene forged 3 nested wards, each humming like distant bells. Still, Narah sensed faint throbs through the stone floor. After night rations of root stew and smoked trout, Narah stole a quiet moment on a balcony overlooking the moon rill. The spring shimmered molten silver under star sparks. Ronan joined her, arm brushing hers. Below, icicles chimed in a mountain wind. "You looked born to this place," he said softly. "So do you," she answered, leaning into his warmth. "Every valley greets us with tests." She slid a hand over the carved wolf paw stone gifted by the Blue Moon boy. But gifts follow too. They stood in silence until Freya nudged. "Share the burden." Narah exhaled. In the vision, the Ember Woman felt familiar. If she is truly my sister, shadow of me, what if her fall condemns half of what I am? Ronan turned her to face him. If she is bond of blood, your strength can still guide her. Shadow does not choose light's fall. Light chooses shadow's redemption. He kissed the crease between her brows. And if she refuses, your heart will still be whole. Her worry eased as they walked back through torchlit corridors toward guest quarters. Talia emerged from a side hall, snow dusting her hood. Scouts report lamps on far ridge extinguished. Could be wind, but Prince Nearstone gate match mirror sandals. She twirled an arrow. We posted doubles. Good, Narah said. Soon as the main column arrives, we tighten nets. Near midnight, Narah settled in a small cedar-paneled room adjoining Ronan's. Wind keened through roof beams. She drifted into uneasy sleep and dreamed. Frosted mirrors ringed a cavern of black water. Her reflection swam in every surface, some shattered, some whole. Footsteps clicked behind. The ember-haired woman approached, fire rippling along her gown. Do you feel the tide? The woman asked. Narah braced Unity's promise. Tell me your name. Names are mirrors, the woman said, palm flaring with crimson flame. Shatter one, and you see many faces. She flicked fingers. A ripple passed through reflections. In each, Narah saw herself, but eyes scorched silver, a crown of charred glass upon her head. Lightning crackled overhead. The cloaked figure stepped in, voice seductive as drifting ash. You need not break the world, child, only bend it. The mirror offers freedom from bonds. Narah's anger burned. Freedom built on ruin is slavery. She raised her blade, but woke abruptly, heart hammering. Pale dawn filtered through shutters. Frost spidered across the inside of the window, forming a perfect spiral intersected by a crescent before melting. Freya's growl echoed. The mirror reached you in sleep. She swung from bed, donned boots and cloak, and found Ronan already at her door, eyes stormy. Bad dreams? He asked. Mirrored nightmares, she replied. We ride for the rill at once. Minutes later, Celine, Lucian, Elias, Iona, and Kale gathered. Snow whipped as gray light seeped over peaks. Talia arrived last, breath frosting. Sentries spotted figures near the southern icicle path. Spiral banners confirmed. Alpha Thorn met them at the inner gate. Our seers felt the moon well tremble. Lead on. Hollow Fang warriors fell into formation with Iron Crest Rangers. Narah mounted Ember. Ronan swung onto Nightwind. The column pushed through thigh-deep drifts toward the rill, a chasm where lunar water pooled in crystal basins fed by mountain veins. Midway, a thunderous boom shook the slope. Snow cracked. An avalanche of blue-white crashed down a side valley, exactly where Talia had prepped log triggers. Kale cursed. They triggered our own trap. Lucian spurred ahead to scout. Narah's party veered onto a narrow ledge road slick with ice. Below, swirling drifts obscured the valley floor. Wind carried distant chants, low, rhythmic, in a language half Lycan, half mirror tongue. They rounded a ridge. The Moonrill Basin opened. Glittering pools terraced down dark rock. At the central well, mirror-cloaked figures placed shards on tall spires of ice. Runic flames licked skyward, feeding a red column of light that shot into thickening clouds. Atop the largest shard stood the ember-haired woman, arms spread. Her voice rang, echoing off cliffs. Rise, reflection, break the chain, let hearts bleed for freedom. Narah felt the mate bond tug painfully like a thread yanked from her chest. Ronan hissed, hand on sternum. Around them, hollow Fang warriors cried out, pairs clutching at the sudden ache in their marks. Celine yelled over the howl of wind. She's attacking bonds already. We must interrupt the chant. Narah spurred Ember. Fire flared along Unity's promise, silver lightning cracking across the blade. She raced down icy switchbacks, Ronan and Kale flanking. Talia's arrows whistled overhead, striking two cultists, spiraling runes at the nearer pool. Lucian and Elias engaged others along the ridge. Iona chanted, summoning wreaths of blue fire that seared mirror shields. Alpha Thorn lunged at a spear-wielding cultist, knocking him into the water where lunar light blazed, cleansing the corruption. Narah reached the central spire's base. The shard towered 4 body lengths high, crimson lightning dancing on its surface. The ember-haired woman looked down, smile fierce. "Welcome, sister. Feel the mirror's edge." Narah leaped, claws sprouting mid-air as she half-shifted. She planted boots on icy wall, scrambling upward. The shard pulsed. A wave of red force slammed her back, but Ronan caught her, driving his sword into the ice to anchor them both. Freya snarled, "We match light with light." Narah thrust Unity's promise into the spire. Silver fire raced through cracks, clashing with crimson. The mirror's glow flickered. The woman above laughed, fire hair whipping. She raised her arms, burning shards lifted like daggers. "Break or bend, choose." Narah roared, channeling memories of Blue Moon prisons, Frostmere pain, and Hollow Fang hope. Unity's promise burst with white gold flare. Ronan added his strength, hand over hers. A thunderous crack resounded. The spire split down its core, hurling shards like shattered glass. The crimson beam faltered, flickered out. Cultists gasped, their chant breaking. Mate marks stopped burning. Warriors steadied. The Ember Woman's smile faded. She leapt backward, landing on a lower ledge. Mirror shards folded around her like wings. She vanished behind a curtain of red smoke. Talia from the ridge shouted, "Retreat east, the cult's falling back." Hollow Fang warriors whooped. Lucian rallied rangers to pursue. Celine raced to the fractured spire, staff glowing as she encased remaining shards in lashings of ice, rune seals locking energies. Steam hissed in the cold. Narah dismounted ledge with Ronan's help, heart hammering. Freya's pride thrummed, but exhaustion dragged at limbs. Thorn approached, clasping Narah's forearm. "You saved our wells. Our bond to the moon holds." "And your spirit saved mine," Narah answered, voice ragged. She turned as Iona drew near, expression grave. "We injured her plan, not her will," Iona warned. "She'll strike again, harder, at convergence." Celine nodded. "And these shards multiply faster each day." Kyle sheathed axes, snow whitening his beard. "Then we cut deeper next time." Ronan rested a hand on Narah's back. "We need Ironcrest's full armies. And Raven Hollow, Riverbreak, every pack that still breathes." Narah looked at the shattered spire, then at the moon descending behind peaks. "Then we rally them all. It ends where the mirror lives." Night closed over the valley as teams collected prisoners and secured shards. Fires danced across ridges as victory songs rose. Yet beneath the triumph, Narah felt a tremor. Subtle, like distant thunder. Miles away, deep inside an obsidian cavern veined with crimson quartz, the cloaked cult leader stood before a polished mirror slab. The ember-haired woman knelt, singed but unbroken. "The shard fell," she said, voice respectful yet eager. But her heart wavered. "I felt it." The hooded figure lifted a pale hand, nails black like obsidian. "Good. The game is awakening itself." He touched the mirror surface. Another shard glimmered to life far below, pulse, red and sharp. 3 awaken, 3 remain. When the convergence peaks, reflections will merge and bonds will shatter as glass beneath hammer. He turned to the flame-haired woman. "Prepare the blood eclipse ritual. Our sister will either join us or break with us." She bowed, embers swirling from her gown. "As you command." The mirror sings her name already. In the mirror's depth, Narah's figure walked a moonlit path, blade in hand, eyes bright with determination. A hairline crack spidered across the reflection. Red light seeped through. The hooded leader's voice was silk and steel. "Soon, Rise of the Lycan princess will echo through every shard." The crack widened, spilling crimson glow into the cavern, bathing cultists in a heartbeat of living blood red. Back in Hollow Fang, Narah paused mid-stride. a shiver frost-biting her spine. Ronan noticed, brows knitting. "What?" She exhaled, watching steam billow. "The mirror just awakened another shard." Freya's answer came as a single word vibrating through her bones. "Hurry." Narah looked east, where storm clouds gathered beyond jagged peaks, their bellies glinting faint crimson. The war of shadow and flame had only just begun.